hello and welcome to May in A Year Gardening 2021. And look at these beautiful tulips. Lovely scent, and we've got them here and down on the stream as well. And I'm so pleased with the joy they're bringing me at the moment. And we've got a really packed show for you today. Under the project side of things, we've got the gate going in to join my garden with my next door neighbour's garden, so we can extend the vegetable growing, and my garden railway going in, so I can show you those as well. When it comes to the planting, we've got some bulbs and seeds and some lovely shrubs to fill out the new border in the centre of the garden. And we have just got so much in today's show. We're going to be running probably for around about 30 minutes today, and the thing I'm going to be starting off with today is under the planning side of things. And I've been asked many times questions about composts and fertilizers and feeds and what we use and when we should use them. So I'm going to go through a few bits of that with you now. So this is A Year Gardening. Enjoy the show. Well, when we go to the garden centre, we have a plethora of products in front of us. We have composts, feeds, fertilizers, and very often it's a very confusing situation, as I have found out from your comments to me. So I'm just going to not give you a masterclass, but I'm just going to explain a couple of basics. So where I am in Kent, I have a very clayey soil. So I dig a lot of this stuff into the ground to open it up, but also a lot of this horticultural grit goes into the ground to assist with the drainage. Now, compost is great for many things. It adds nutrients to the ground, and may I just say that if you get the opportunity to do so, please go peat free with your compost. It's very important to saving our natural habitat. But we dig that into the ground, it adds nutrients, and when we're planting our bushes and our shrubs and bulbs and things, a handful or so of compost into the hole really gives them the opportunity to grow more. Hello, Mr. Blackbird, lovely to see you. I do love it when the birds come into the garden, it's beautiful. Now, also compost is great for top dressing and mulching. So when our plants are greedy, things like our roses always need plenty of food. We can dress them up with a little mulch of compost and keep them going. But if you don't have compost to hand, another great thing to use is grass clippings. So when you mow your lawn, you can just build it up over the top, keep them warm. That will retain moisture into the ground and help feed the plants. We don't have to spend loads of money to do this. Now, when it comes to our fertilizers, there are three main fertilizers that I use. I use fish blood and bone as a general purpose fertilizer. I use Growmore for top dressing, and a rose and shrub compost, a rose and shrub fertilizer I use to put down just underneath the roots when I'm planting a new shrub. So the rose and shrub compost is a long, slow released fertilizer. The fish blood and bone again is a ground conditioner and it's a fertilizer. But the Growmore you can use as a top dressing as well. So if you just want to add a little bit of food to the top of the ground, you've got your mulch down, you just want to improve it, you can use a bit of Growmore on there. Now when it comes to feeds, I've got a couple here. So this is a slow release feed, and these little granules, it does give you a scale on the back of most of the packets to how much you should use. And as I've said before, it's very like a medicine you might get from the chemist. it might say take 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening, and do not exceed the recommended dose. It's exactly the same with this. So for a hanging basket, it's around about a large cupful to mix into a large hanging basket. The standard hanging basket is around about a foot, 30 centimetres, and you probably want about a half a cupful in that to mix in with the compost. And it's a slow release fertiliser that will last you for up to 6 months in your pot and feed your plants. However, when you take something like a liquid feed, then I always go for liquid seaweed. It's a great product, and you mix this down with water and you put it on your plants. But never, ever, ever put it on the plants over the leaves or the flowers. It can damage them. It's a root feed, and try not to use it at all in direct sunlight because it will just do damage to your plants. So what we've got are fertilizers, feeds and composts. So top dressing and mulch also in the ground to help your plants establish themselves. Condition your soil, feed your soil, and condition and feed your plants. That's a general overview. Now we do have various different feeds that we'll use at different times of the year for germination, for enhancing the flowering, for enhancing the fruits. But generally they're the 3 purposes: conditioning, helping the plants to grow; soil conditioning, plant conditioning. I hope this has been a little bit of help to you. Time to move on. Well, we've had a little trip to the local garden centre, and we've also been doing a little bit of shopping online as well for some shrubs for the little mound in the new border in the middle here. And we've gone for some evergreens to give us plenty of form, shape and some colour throughout the year. So we've got things like the little Lonicera here, so the honeysuckle bush, which is a first for us here. We've got some euonymus, and we've got some photinias, a couple of viburnums and a couple of cotoneaster. We've gone for the Cotoneaster horizontalis, which is a low growing shrub, as opposed to the standard Cotoneaster, which is a nice big bushy shrub. And this will just give us some depth of ground cover almost on the top of the mound. So we've laid them all out to the rough positions where I want them to be, and now it's time for me to start putting those in. Now this ground has already been treated with some fish blood and bone, and also a compost mulch over the top. It's going to take a little bit of work, and I've got to get this nice and soft inside, well dug, so that the plant has a really good chance of growing. And I'll just get dug into here, make this all broken up underneath. And what I tend to do is I just tend to place the plant in its pot in the ground, so I know that I've got the right size hole. I can then just pop that out of here and just tease off some of these roots here. Just loosen them out a little bit where they're growing rather tightly in the pot here, and that will encourage them to spread out into the ground. We'll take a little bit of this compost and just put into the bottom there, and then we'll just work that back in nicely. And there's the first plant in. So we're going to thoroughly enjoy the closeness that this is going to give us, because we are planting them fairly close together, and in keeping them nice and close they will blend and give us a nice hedgy type feel to this little mound. I'm really looking forward to seeing these plants when they're fully established. It'll take a few years for them to bulk out a little bit, because some of these are really young plants and then some of them are more established plants. And again, we just need to tease open some of this root on here. Don't want to cause too much damage to it. And pop that into here. And we're going back in with the soil around here. And as I was explaining earlier with the compost and fertilizers, we're then going to be covering this with around about 1.5 to 2 inches of compost for a mulch. Get rid of that piece of grass out of there, lovely. Just to retain some moisture in the ground. And once we've got all of these planted, we're then going to give them a very good water. So that's this border well underway. I'm going to be planting some bulbs shortly around the top here, just to give us a little bit of colour, maybe a few more bulbs at the bottom round where we have the blue irises. And then we've got to get ourselves another 7 or 8 shrubs to come in on the other side, just to give the depth and the form to this border. But we just get them as we can afford them. We don't want to go out silly and leave ourselves short for other things, so we'll wait for a couple of weeks and then we'll put the rest of those shrubs in. Well, what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to make myself a small area at the top here in front of this ornament, where I'm going to be putting a few bulbs. And I'm going to clear the area out, pop a little bit of compost in there so that there's a good area for these bulbs to grow in, because this ground has been made with the old turfs and soil and things that came out from when this was grass underneath here. I'm sure you remember a couple of months ago when I was just starting this, and so we'll clear that a bit of a clean through there, go and get some compost in there and plant a few bulbs. Okay, well, I haven't got a massive number of bulbs here, but I don't want to be dropping them like that. We're just going to just pop a few of these in at the top here. Just hope that they will give us some nice colour during the summer. Bunch a couple up tight. See how they're going to grow. Put them in groups of 3. I'm sure they're going to have the desired effect along the top here. Which side? Those in, and what we'll do then is we'll just make a little area down here, a little bit more compost in there, and we'll pop these few in here. Just to get also a few more bulbs sitting inside there. There we go, we can pop those in here. So that'll give us a nice bit of colour in the summer. Cover that up. And we get some more water on here. Just to water those in. Happy days. Well, you remember a little while back when we planted our mini orchard, and this is the conference pear with some lovely blossom coming on here. So we've actually been treating this soil down quite nicely, and I've started to plant my seeds underneath here. Just a simple shake, rake and water system. Mixed seeds, not quite sure what they're going to be, but they're in a colour theme, and that will become obvious hopefully during the summer. I've done the first half here, and so I'm just going to open this box and spread the seeds in their little mix over this side here. Get this all nicely in here, and then a few more up the middle here. And once we've got those down, we just take the rake and give it a light raking in and out, just putting those seeds in contact with the ground. Now the important thing I've got to do is go and get some water on them. Well, that's the seeds in here, the shrubs in here, and some bulbs in there as well. Whilst we're out here, why don't we just take a look down the bottom of the peas that I was growing inside, which I planted out a couple of weeks ago. Well, here they are, our peas, which are already having a few flowers on there. They've been outside in the frosts and the cold that we've had over the last week or so, but they're coming through okay. A little bit pale, so I put a little bit more of mulch over the top here to get some goodness down into them, and I'm going to be popping a nice feed onto them to help them along their way. But I'm very pleased with my first peas, and we'll get the next ones in around about a fortnight's time. Hello again, and now we're back in the greenhouse, and it's time now to put some of our summer flowering seeds in. And so what I've got now is I've got a pack of Rebecca Aries, and we're just going to sow those into a tray ready for some nice summer colour. Now, Rebecca Aries is a beautiful daisy-like flower, but it has a really, really dark streak coming off of the centre of the flower. So you have the lovely gold edges and the purpley brown centre. Absolutely stunning, and it's going to be a lovely addition to our border this year. Now, the Rebecca seed is a very, very small seed, so we'll finally put some into our hand and we'll sprinkle it off from there. I mean, this is a massive amount of seed in a what would you say, 1 centimetre area here. And all I will do is I'll pinch this and then finally sprinkle this across this compost here. Now, I've already moistened this to help the seeds stay in contact with the soil. Haven't overwatered it, I've just gently moistened it, and there's going to be hopefully a pile of young seedlings come through here. Let's pop that onto there, and that will just give us a lovely colour. Then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a sprinkling of grit and run that over the top of these plants, because they're going to give us such joy when those lovely long summer's evenings are with us. Oh yes, we're going to love this. And then we're going to give these a nice water. This grit will just hold them in place, and it's a very natural thing. It's like they've actually just fallen from the plant. I'm going to get this nice little covering on here. That's going to be fine. Give that a little pop down, little shake, level it all up there. There we go, look at that, that's lovely. Put a little bit more over the top here, because what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give these a little water. Now I've got some water in the base of the tray here, but we're just going to get the right watering can. That's not the right one. And then we're going to put just a little sprinkling of water over the top here, just to moisten that down. And then I've got my label already made out, and we'll pop that in the back. So we've got Rebecca Aries, 2nd of the 5th, 21, which is today. And then we'll know when we planted those. A couple of weeks time, they should be coming through nicely. And we'll get ready to grow some lovely plants in the garden this year. Well, here I am finally getting ready to put the gate in at the bottom of my garden, between my garden and Stuart's garden, so we can extend our growing. Now what I've done, I've just taken out 2 of the pieces of feather edge, just so that I can find where the spars are, so that I can then measure down and mark out the new post and drill the holes ready for that. I've also made a mark here in pencil where I'm actually going to cut the fence, and I've installed a brace here to hold the fence that I'm keeping in position, so I haven't got it lifting and dropping and risking any damage to this fence. So what I've now got to do is get my saw and cut these 3 sections here and remove this section of feather edge, so that we can then start the installation side of things. Well, that piece of fence is now removed, and I've cut back these into some tenons. I'm now going to make the mortises on the fence post, put this in with some post mix, get that set before we look at putting the gate on. Happy days. Well, that's the post measured, dug into the hole. Now I've just got to go and get the post mix and some water, get that hole done, let that go off, and then we can look about hanging the gate. Traffic. Well, there's the gate, all in place and working. Got a bit of a tidy up here to do, and then refix the feather edge on the other side to blend it in with the existing fence. A little bit of stain and a bolt on here, and we're away to go. Still a couple more screws to pop in, but very pleased with the result on that one. Well, there we go, the gate's in, feather edge is back on the other side, bolts fitted, hinges fitted, and it's all nice and secure. Repaired the fence post on this side, and we've got a new fence post in on the other side. So when the weather picks up a little bit, we'll get through and we'll start tidying the weeds and preparing the ground ready for building our raised beds. Well, it's almost a year since I put aside my ideas for a garden railway, and I've now decided to install it, but it's going to go into a totally different place. Where it was going to go round the rose garden, it's now going to go into the memory garden behind me, and the first thing I've got to do is install the structure for the permanent way, which is levelling with some posts in the ground, and I'm only going to be having just a small loop, but it's going to be extendable, and I've set in my plan some points at the end of the loop so that I can run an extension, and I'll probably do that on a trestle system. But now I'm going to start to install the permanent way posts into the garden behind me. Well, now I've got the track bed installed, and this is all levelled up via a spirit level and set on these legs. And what I've done now is I've just put a timber preservative over the top of the pallets that I've been using for the top level here, and then I'm going to treat that with a wood stain as well, so I'll give it a nice colour before we install the track. Now the system that I've gone for isn't what you would normally have for your railways. There's no metal tracks. This is a plastic track, and the locomotives are battery operated, so I shouldn't have any weather problems. Now I've put this in the memory garden because this goes back, and my brother will remember this I'm sure, and my sister too, when we were small children and Mum used to take us down to a chap's house near Croydon Parish Church, and he had the trains in his back garden. I was always fascinated by trains in the back garden. So now, as I've now got trains in my memory garden, it's another memory, and I'll be reinstalling the windmill and my mum's stone and the brother and sister stones into this garden as we carry on. But we're going to also plant a couple of nice shrubs in the middle, so that'll grow through the centre of the railway, and I'm sure that's going to look great. So I'll let this dry and then I'll get some timber preservative on it. Well, there we go. The track bed is in position, and quite pleased with that. We've got the wood stain on there now. Now what I'm going to do underneath here, I'm going to build a little arch to make it look like a bridge, and then we'll have the plants going through. And I've got a pot which I've taken out of here, which I'm going to plant. It's an open bottom pot, and I'm going to plant that with gladiolus at this end, so they'll come up and give us a massive tower of colour as well. So all in all, I've got my ideas sorted out here. My next little job though is to actually lay the track, and for that I'm going to drill every sort of 8 or 10 sleepers, a very, very thin hole, and then I'm going to connect it with some fine screws and some tin tacks. Well, that's the track just pinned down for now. I haven't got it completed because I want to make sure the train runs properly. But the train is running round nicely in the background. I've got my little station over there, and we're going to have a little coal yard and things. We'll build something with matches and things to go over the back, and we'll have the little train going round. I've actually got 2 trains that I can put on here, but I think one's enough, just a bit of fun. And we get that pot now in with the gladiolus. But pretty pleased with my afternoon's work today. Well, that brings me to the end of another show. Fantastic, and look at the amount of things we've done today. We've been going through the projects, the planning and the planting, and I hope the little bit we did earlier on the composts, fertilizers and feeds was of some use. If you want any more detail about seasonal use, then please send me an email and I'll give you a dedicated reply, particularly maybe for the soil conditions where you are. Now, I'd like to leave you today with a little reading, and it's a little bit of my own take with some help from other people on the 2nd chapter from Genesis. And if you'll bear with me, I'll just give you a little read now. And Genesis chapter 2 verse 1 reads, "When the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, no shrub of the field had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up. The Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to work the ground." This happened after the 7 days of the creation. So may I just say that on the 8th day, God made gardeners. And we are here to continue with his creation and to assist our Lord in the wonderful creation that he made. Now, today we have gone through a lot of things in the garden. I mean, we planted all those lovely shrubs. We have sown some seeds. We put the railway up. Well, I don't mean today, we've done that today. This has been over the last 5 weeks, I think now. Done a lot of things, and I hope you've enjoyed the show that we've put together for you today. Now, there are a few little things that I would like to have done outside and shown you that we should be doing at this time of year, but unfortunately just at the end of the driest and the coldest April we've ever had, it has started raining, which is rather splendid because it saves me having to try and water my plants in the garden. But I will just give you a couple of words that if you do have any perennial grasses in your garden, it's a great time to lift those and divide them and spread them to make into some new plants. Fantastic time of year to do that. We should be able to get a reasonable cut on our grass now and bring that down to a very manageable level and trim up all those borders. Keep a really firm hold on those perennial weeds. I've noticed I've got some dandelions coming through my rose border and I'm going to be getting those out as well. So there are lots of things we need to be doing and keep those seeds going in. I mean, we can now really build up our crops for the year, and because it's been such a cold April, I've held back on planting some. I'm going to be planting another lot of seed potatoes, my main crop, in the next week or so. Got some King Edwards going to be putting in, lovely for chips, and we don't like chips, any of us, do we? But there we go. And just get those seeds going. We've got just 1 or 2 packs here. I'll show you. So I've still got to plant these sweet peas. I've got some more beetroot, cucumber, lettuce, parsnips, Swedes, some more rudbeckias, some nasturtiums, oh, and just for Julie, some sweet corn. So we've got lots of things that are going to go in over the next week or so, and it's going to give us a great summer. I know this summer is going to be great because we may even be able to have some people come in and visit our garden again, and I love it when people come and visit the garden. Absolutely fantastic. Well, that brings me right to the end of today's show, and once again, thank you ever so much for your company. It is greatly appreciated. But I'll leave you with just a few kind words, I hope. Stay well, stay safe, be kind to each other, and happy gardening. I might have just a small glass of wine here. Rather nice Cabernet Shiraz from Australia. Cheers.